if you're constantly getting migraines over and over again, like, does it do damage to the brain? I don't know whether it's a dumb question, but...
No, it's a very good question because actually this is one of the things that majority of the patients are concerned about. So just to like clear any doubts and everything and to put patients at ease, when you do get frequent headaches, right, you will not lead to stroke, dementia, bleeding in the brain or brain tumor. So that's the questions that patients often ask. But when you do have headaches so often, right, it does change the brain a little bit. Okay, so one way, easy way to imagine, right, is like a patch of grass. So in a patch of grass, right, if you walk through that pathway in that grass one time, there's actually no pathway. But if you keep walking through it, a pathway will eventually clear. So what happens in a patient with chronic frequent headaches, right, is that they become very easily sensitized and they just keep having headache attacks.
Just between us.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Just Between Us. Today's topic is something I feel very passionate about. You might say it's something that's all in your head. My name is Juliana Yao and together with my co-host Netco, we've got a special guest in the studio. I'm so excited to introduce. We've got Dr. Zhao. Yay!
Thank you.
Doctor, maybe we can have you introduce yourself.
Okay, sure. So I'm Dr. Zhao Yijing, can call me Yijing. I'm a neurologist with a subspecialty interest in headache. So I open and run my own neurology and headache clinic, which is located in Mount Elizabeth Orchard Hospital. Thanks for having me here.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for joining us.
I feel like I shouldn't be this excited about an episode, but even Net, you could see that I was.
Yes, I can clearly see it, but I understand why, because it's something that bugs you quite often, right?
It does, yeah. So like more specifically, I think what we want to chat about today is maybe headaches and migraines. And just so that we set the premise, I am somebody who suffers from migraines quite often. I would say almost every month. And sometimes they're like, it gets a bit worse sometimes. They're like good and bad periods, right? For Net, have you experienced like migraines as well?
So yes, maybe over the past 3 years, then I started getting like very serious headaches, a bit of tension headaches. Sometimes I get migraines as well. I don't know whether it's the same thing, different thing, because I'm like Googling all the time. Maybe it's something you can clear as well.
Yeah.
It's something she started
Yeah,
smiling about when you say it.
Because sometimes when the patient can immediately give me the diagnosis, I get a bit amused because I do want to know what they understand about tension headaches and migraines. So, like, based on your Google, what's your understanding of tension and migraine headaches?
So for migraines, it affects the side, right?
One side.
One side, and then like you, sometimes you might want to like vomit quite a bit, like you really cannot function. Tension headaches, I read, it's a bit different, as in like you feel it at the back of your head instead, like the placement.
Can we clear it once
Yeah.
and for all?
Yes.
Is there a
Yeah.
difference between headaches and migraines?
Okay, so for headaches, right, I would say that it's the broad category of symptom, where under the symptom itself, there are like hundreds of different conditions that can cause headaches. And it's subdivided into primary headaches and secondary headaches. So by secondary headaches, right, it's actually the condition that sometimes a lot of people are worried about because they are worried about whether their constant headache could be due to a tumor, a stroke, or bleeding in the brain. But the vast majority of the population actually have something called primary headache, which is the person's innate tendency to get headaches. And under that category, that's when you have the different types of primary headache, which will be migraine as well as tension type headaches. And for migraine, a bit like, actually you have mostly said some of the more important features where migraine tend to be one-sided. But actually, there are about 40% of the patients that do have the migraine, the whole head on just like both sides. But it tends to be basically a more severe headache with more features such as nausea. And I think before interview, you mentioned about some sensitivity to light and sound, which means that during the headache attack, some people, if they find that people are talking to them, they find it a little bit more unbearable. The same level of noise that they are used to, the same level of light things they are used to, they find it more unbearable during the migraine attack. Whereas for tension headache, it tends to be, an easy way to remember is that it's a featureless headache. So it's just a tight, heavy sensation, whether it's in the front, at the back. They don't have the accessory symptoms like nausea, and it's usually more manageable. So the reason why I think you notice her headaches because hers, my guess, is migraine headaches, because it tends to be more bothersome and it's enough to affect your life.
It really is, yeah. So sometimes one of the fears that I have is that people brush it off, right? Maybe they have a headache, and then if somebody tells me like, oh yeah, just take Panadol, then I know I know that you don't experience migraines because Panadol really, like your general painkillers really don't help migraines. Like I can be popping the maximum dose and it really doesn't even like make me feel any better at all. So a lot of times like when I get migraine attacks, it comes with the full works. All your accessory symptoms like you mentioned, so like vomiting, I would have to like hide myself, draw all the curtains, make sure it's as dark as possible, close all the doors so that there's no sound at all. And I think one bad thing about like being in the line that I'm in is that I usually cannot take MC, right? So sometimes it would just mean that I have to power through and go to work as well. So can you affirm that this is like a legit, like, do people really find it very hard to work with migraines?
I do find that migraine attacks are conditions that is quite debilitating. So sometimes, right, the headache can be so bad that during a migraine attack, it's very hard for a patient to imagine that there's nothing wrong with their brain. It's just like a migraine attack. But the fact is that migraine is one of the more severe headaches. And when it's happening, exactly like what you say, a lot of patients say the same thing. Like they will have to go to a cool, dark room, draw the curtain. They prefer not to move because if they move, it makes the headache worse. So that actually means that it makes it very hard to work, function as in your job, function as a mother, or function in your daily life. Yeah.
Right. With that also, right, I've got a question. Because, you know, anyone can just say, oh, I'm having a migraine, I'm having a headache. I think a lot of people use this like as an excuse to get out of work.
Or like they self-diagnose or
Yeah,
something.
correct. Okay, so I have like a package question. How does a doctor diagnose a migraine? And also like, then can you write MC for someone like, hey, you get this MC because you are having a migraine today?
I would say that this question, right, is probably a little bit more difficult for general practitioners and primary healthcare doctors, where the patient will usually go to them when they have like either a mild headache or severe headache, and they get the bulk of it. So they are the ones that have to kind of like differentiate those patients that are more severe and the ones that are milder. But as doctors, I think we always trust our patient and we always give the patient the benefit of the doubt. So when a patient reaches a doctor and they seek help, right, is when we'll just really do what we can, like give them the medication they want, give them the rest they want, and give them the NC that is needed. Because for more severe headaches, like I mentioned, it's just very difficult to work. And also if you work, right, sometimes because of what you are doing, it will aggravate the headache even worse. And as a result of that, their headache can last for like up to 48 to 72 hours. And by then, after 2 to 3 days, right, the headache attack can actually be very hard to control. And some patients, no kidding, will end up in the emergency department because all their oral medications have failed and they require stronger medications. Yeah. So I hope it doesn't happen to you.
No, that sounds really horrible because Ju, as an MC, sometimes you have to face like so much bright lights and like loud noises as well.
Yeah.
And wow, can you imagine like just having a migraine for 72 hours?
It has happened before, lah. I just have to say, yeah, you just have to power through it, like a bit no choice. So something, I felt like I was prepared for migraines already. I kind of saw it coming because my mom had it. I don't know whether this is like all in my head again, but like, did she pass it to me?
Passing is a bit like, she passed you a beautiful gene, right? So you cannot really say it's passed down, but it's more like the fact that it do tend to run in a family. And because it tends to run in a family, people feel that it's passed down, but I mean, it's kind of true, like it's genetic. And because it is genetic, right, it means that you cannot really I cannot really cure you of migraine. I mean, I can't delete your genes, right? So what you can do is manage it such that it's manageable. You do it either through lifestyle or through medication to get it better.
Wait, so what you're saying now is that this migraine problem will never go away?
It will, no. It will not. I cannot like give you like no hope. But actually, I find that for people in the line of work that is usually quite more relaxed, or if they have very good healthy lifestyle, sometimes their headache is actually quite well manageable to the extent that they may perhaps have it once every few years and they don't even notice it, like maybe yourself, because I remember you said that yours is not that frequent.
Yeah.
But there will be some patients that because of their line of work, their lifestyle, they get it a little bit more frequently. But for females, especially, for females, a majority of the patient, by the time they reach perimenopausal, after menopause, it actually becomes better.
And is that due to like hormonal balancing issues? Because
Yes.
I do find that like mine is almost quite in sync with like that time of the month. And that is where my migraines tend to occur. Of course, I have recognized other triggers also like stress, maybe, or like maybe not eating on time sometimes, not sleeping enough. And these are all
You have
triggers.
highlighted actually some very classical triggers. So I would say that the most common triggers in Singapore at least would have been work stress, sleep deprivation is very common. In children, sometimes excessive screen time, the school stress itself can trigger off as well. Then you will have the next category of triggers, which is like a lot to do with lifestyle, like what you highlighted. So if they are dehydrated, if they often skip their meals, or they lead a very erratic lifestyle where they often have to fly, they have shift works, all these do contribute as well. Food. So that's why I want to explore your trigger. So actually food can be a trigger as well. So one of the most common food triggers is actually alcohol. So like right before I came to the studio, I had one patient in the clinic that she knows that her trigger is alcohol, but yet at the same time, she need it. Like at the end of the day, she has a very stressful work day, and then she's very dehydrated, and she drinks the alcohol. So that's like a bad combination. So I would say that what it does mean that is that actually, if you do lead a healthy lifestyle, identify your trigger to prevent it from even happening, then a majority of time it can be quite well managed.
That's very meticulous, like noting your triggers, frequency as well. Maybe, oh, did I eat well this week? Did I drink enough water? So is there a way to monitor it? A diary, a journal?
Yes, that's a very good question. So yes, actually part of our headache treatment plan is a headache diary. So it's not just a reflection that is for the doctors to see, but it's also for the patients themselves to realize over time what are their triggers, and also how it affects their life, how much painkillers they are taking. And with that, right, I have even had patients that over the years of keeping their headache diary, they have come to realize that, oh, actually certain seasons of the year, the month, I seem to get more headaches. And, then it becomes a bit easier to manage and cope with their lifestyle.
Because they are prepared for it. They know that, okay, maybe if hot weather is my trigger because I tend to sweat more, maybe I don't drink enough water. So I know that, okay, maybe this month I just need to make the active choice to drink more water.
Yes,
something
correct.
like that.
So something like that, similar to what you have noticed, where during the time of the month you seem to get a little bit more frequent. So I always tell my patient, especially for like us females, where we cannot avoid our monthly cycle, then during that period, live a healthy lifestyle. Make sure that you are well rested, drink enough water. If you do get a headache attacks, perhaps take your painkiller a little bit earlier to prevent it from escalating.
Oh, okay. So that's something that I wanted to bring up also. So on the topic of meds, right? I even brought down my medication just to like, yeah, this
Good
is
medicine,
what-
by the way.
This has been saving me because it's really effective for me now, and I'm so thankful that I found it. But so I have my doctor who has been telling me also, once you feel the onset of a migraine, take it already. And sometimes I tend to like, before she said that, I held off as much as I could because like I don't want to like jump the gun. Right. If it's just a regular headache, I don't want to like waste my medication.
Because it's not cheap.
It's not cheap, and also like I have a limited supply of this because it's prescribed medicine, right? And would this be true? Like when should one take painkillers for their headache?
So I always use this analogy, which I feel that patients understand it very well when I say it. So I always say, imagine a small fire. When it's still a small fire, all you have to do is use a cup of water and put out the fire. When it becomes a full-blown fire, it actually becomes harder to control. So you will end up taking more medications to try and control it. So yes, do take your painkillers a bit earlier when the headache do come. But there will always be patients that don't like to take medications.
No, they feel like, no, I'm very strong. I
Yeah.
can tahan this out. Yeah.
So I tell them that in that case, right, okay, I accept it, I accept your choice, but you need to be able to find a way, an alternative way that can help to put out the fire, per se. And that can include like going to take a nap, going for, they have various methods that patients have tried over the years. Some of them have tried like cold showers, cold pads. They drink electrolyte beverages like cold ones. It seems to help as well. So find the method that you know that can work for you if you really don't want to take the medication. Just don't do anything and then end up with a more severe headache that gets a bit harder to control.
Yeah, I'm actually quite shocked to hear that. Like once a week to me is like really often.
It's almost every day, right?
I don't know, it just feels like way too much. Like by that time, I think it would be time
correct.
to go
it
and
will
see a
be
doctor.
enough to cause a patient to have a significant like interference with their daily life, and I think that's when one would actually consider seeking treatment.
Okay, I just thought of a question as well because we're talking about the frequency of things, and I think I would relate this to something like, you know, if you're constantly spraining your ankle over and over again, then what's going to happen to the joint? So in relation, like on the same plane, right? If you're constantly getting migraines over and over again, like does it do damage to the brain? I don't know whether it's a dumb question, but
No, it's a very good question because actually this is one of the things that majority of the patients are concerned about. So just to like clear any doubts and everything and to put patients at ease, when you do get frequent headaches, right, you will not lead to stroke, dementia, bleeding in the brain or brain tumor. So that's the questions that patients often ask. But when you do have headaches so often, right, it does change the brain a little bit. Okay, so one easy way to imagine, right, is like a patch of grass. So in a patch of grass, right, if you walk through that pathway in that grass one time, there's actually no pathway. But if you keep walking through it, a pathway will eventually clear. So what happens in a patient with chronic frequent headaches, right, is that they become very easily sensitized and they just keep having headache attacks. And of course, in our original studies, when we do imaging, specialized imaging, they have noticed a difference for patients with chronic headaches and those with infrequent headaches. There is a bit of difference in the patient's brain. And one of the key importance for us when we treat patients, right, is to try and bring their brain from a chronic brain, migraine brain, back to a healthier brain.
That's really interesting. That's not something that I actually thought about before this, but now you've got me thinking about it. And maybe can I ask you about a patient's journey with doctors as well? So headaches can start from something very insignificant. There's something that can be solved by painkillers, right? So I have gone to GPs about my migraine issues before, and honestly, there's not much that they can do for me. And I think people are honestly scared to go to a neurologist because that might mean more serious things. I don't know, maybe I watch too much like Grey's Anatomy. I'm scared I get like a brain tumor and stuff like that. But could you kind of like talk us through the process of what headache treatment looks like or how a neurologist can help with migraine issues?
Okay. So one of the key things that I do for patients, right, is patient empowerment. Because you know, right, the prevalence of patients with headache and migraine is about maybe 5 to 10% worldwide. If I don't empower you and hopefully get you discharged and let you be able to take care of your headache yourself, my headache clinic will be flooded. So, one of the key things when patients come to us with headache, right, the top most important thing that I do in my mind is to make sure that your headache belongs to the category of primary headaches, which is like migraine and tension headache. I need to make sure that you don't have a secondary headache or something sinister that's happening inside your body or your brain that's causing the headache. Once I know that yours is a primary headache, right, then I have a few ways that I teach patients to tell them how to manage their headache. So the first most important category, of course, is medication. So that will include finding the right medication. And I'm very glad, Ju, that you managed to find the correct medication that works for you, because it is important to make sure that the headache attack, when it comes, it doesn't affect a patient's life so drastically, all right? Then the next category of treatment is actually lifestyle and basically what we call non-pharmacal, so non-medication. So those managements are very important, and it is, to me, the long-term management. So you have to know all this. So for a young patient, adolescent patient that often come to me, right, one of the key things that I tell them to do is stress management. Because a lot of times their headache tend to be stress-related, schoolwork related. And stress management is actually like a lifelong skill.
Yes.
So stress management, good healthy lifestyle. So that will include sleeping at a good timing every day, good duration every day, eating healthily, avoiding the food that can trigger off your headaches, staying well hydrated. It sounds very basic, I know, but I cannot tell you the number of patients that have come to my clinic for a follow-up. They just come into a clinic to tell me, thankfully, that after they started drinking water, their headache just went away. So sometimes it's something as simple as that, like just the lifestyle itself without medication can actually help with the headache. So medication is one category, and then lifestyle and lifestyle changes is actually a very important long-term management plan.
It's really prevention is better than cure.
I know, I was just thinking that. Like my mom used to say that all the time, and then I used to go like,
Yeah,
it's so easy for you to say.
It's always the Asian mother. You got headache, right?
Right.
You never drink water.
Never
that's
drink
why.
water. So there's a little bit of truth to that, lah, right? You need to hydrate yourself well.
Yes. Because like at the end of the day, right, it's like your mom can only be around your life so long, right? And you have to like learn how to manage your lifestyle healthily by yourself. Yeah.
Can I ask, like, when people go to you for migraines, headaches, and all that, and then sometimes they tell you that, oh, I've tried alternative treatment, like I don't know, maybe acupuncture, TCM, or what?
Essential oils.
Ah, yeah, essential oils.
lavender.
Yeah.
So I would say that there are certain alternative therapies I've found over the years that seem to work quite well. So that will actually include traditional Chinese medicine, and that will include acupuncture. Some patients do find relief, short-term relief over a period of like days to week or so, where after acupuncture they feel that their headache is better. So I actually don't disapprove. I think it's a great idea and a great method to work as well. There's no harm. Some patients find that they get relief with physiotherapy. They get relief with alternative like essential oils. So these are all things that tend to work. I would say that whichever works for you, without doing any harm, I have no objections towards it. Yeah.
I love that. I love that she's not just like fixed on like medication and like very wholesome treatment. And I think I will seek your advice to drink more water. There's like a little reminder, like right after this recording, we're all gonna drink. We're all gonna drink some water.
In fact, in clinic, right, sometimes every time I remind a patient to drink water, I'll take my own water and start drinking in front of the patient. I have like a huge bottle beside me. Yeah, correct.
Oh, I love that.
I love that you've made the topic of migraine so much more approachable. You made it seem something that is actually like containable, that you can actually work on with our daily habits. So thank you so much for sharing. Maybe let's do a shout out for your clinic once again. If people want to go and look for you to, maybe they have pressing headache, migraine issues, where can they find you? Okay,
so the key way that I treat headache patients will be empowerment and hopefully eventually get them to be able to manage on their own. But if they really need help, feel free to come to my clinic, neurology and headache clinic, which is located in Mount Elizabeth Orchard Hospital. It's very kind of you all. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Zhao. So thanks for joining us today. That brings us to the end of our topic for today. But if there's anything else you'd like us to discuss, feel free to leave a comment down below. Let me know if you've been suffering from migraines like me as well. And of course, we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Just between us.